Welcome, everybody. It is 6 o'clock Eastern Time. It is May 6th, 2025, and every Tuesday night we have this call here with Dr. Wallach, and we welcome you. It is 3 o'clock Pacific Time and 6 o'clock Eastern. So we welcome everybody to this 30-minute call that we have here, and legally we must say that this meeting is for educational and informational purposes only. So what you hear tonight is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure anyone or anything. So that being said, it takes great discipline and changes in our mindset and habits to have these protocols work. So we're here to seek true science-based, clinically proven use of nutrition to feel better. And if you have a desire to make a 90-day change in your lifestyle, you've come to the right place. Dr. Wallach's research and the development team has created an army while raising his children and family from home, at zoos, and on the road. So to be respectful, we just ask everyone to please write down your questions, and we're going to give Dr. Wallach 15 minutes here to give us some great information, educate us, and then we'll open up the lines for questions. Thank you. And Dr. Wallach, the call is yours.
Okay, well, thank you, and welcome, everybody. And one of the things that has been consistently over the last couple of years on the news involving kids is this stuff going on that has to do with the kids have a gender issue, okay? And these kids, what's it called? These kids, they're what?
Their gender identity?
Yeah, gender, yeah.
Transgender.
There you go, transgender. There you go. And transgender. And so this is something that's not new. This goes back thousands of years. And it happens on the farms, to the farm animals, because during the pregnancy, the mother didn't have enough nutrition for all the pieces to come together, okay? And so this is one of the things that, you can have a missing leg, you can have a missing arm, you can be born blind, or you can have a transgender baby, which has all the equipment, physiologically equipment, to be a girl, and yet they act like and have all the equipment for a boy, and vice versa. Might have think everything's a boy, but actually they're a girl, and so on. This we actually have a product that for girls that are transgenders girls, but they're really boys. And we also have stuff for transgender girls who are really boys, and they're girls. And this comes down to arguments about who can be on what basketball team, who can be in the bathrooms and all this kind of stuff. And it's actually quite simple. And so even, let's say, the last couple of weeks, there's been these basketball players, okay, and tennis players that they're in their 30s, and they look like a boy, but they act like a girl, and vice versa. They're trans, okay? So it's never too late to fix the problem. And so this Xerafem, we have 2,500 products, but two of them that are specifically related to this. Xerafem, okay, when you have fem, it's for female. And then we have the one for the males, okay, or Xeratest for testosterone. So let's say, and they had one, it was I think, I don't know if it was a tennis player, I guess it was a tennis player some months ago, that maybe were the the opposite sex was on the other team, and the girl didn't want to play against this transgender guy because he was a big guy, 6'5" and big athlete, and she's like 100 pounds. And so she just say, okay, I'm throwing in the towel today. I'm not going to play because this guy's really not a girl. He's a boy, okay, and so on. And so this is something that everybody can do. We have again the one for boys, okay. Okay, that's Zero test, and then we had one for girls, Zero fem. Okay, and so this is what the parents and the team members and the local doctors need to start doing this properly. When you have, let's say, a 6-year-old girl who doesn't want to go into the bathroom with the boys, but all her activities are saying she's a boy, but she's not. She's really a girl, okay? And so it's embarrassing for her, and the boys just kind of laugh at the whole thing and maybe push her around and get a little physical with her and so on. This is very easy to deal with. They need to get two things. Number one, get rid of all the bad stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, no brown oats, no buckwheat, no sugar, no carbonated drinks. Even the diet one's got to go. No peanuts, no peanut butter. And then they need the 90 essential nutrients according to their body weight, the 90 essential nutrients. We have the kids' toddy. I love the kids' toddy for these little kids, who are a month old all the way up to, say, 10, 12 years old, the kids' toddy, okay? And it's a liquid. It tastes good, and kids think it's like juice. And so that's kind of the direction I would go, give them the kids' toddy, give them all the nutrients they need. And then if it's a really little girl, okay, and so but it's showing up activity as a boy, then they need the one that's for the girl. Okay.
Zero fem.
Zero fem. There you go. You get an A+. Zero fem. And if it was the other way around, if it was actually a little boy but showing up as a girl, then you need the zero test. Okay? And so this is not difficult. And this goes way back in history. Okay? This goes way back in history. And this is where on farms you'd have a cow and she wouldn't give milk and she wouldn't let the bull breed her and get pregnant and have calves because in her brain she was a boy. Okay? And so what they would do, they would either go in surgically and remove all of the organs so it didn't matter what the animal thought because it wasn't a girl or a boy anymore because they removed all the organs. Well, that was kind of useless. So once that baby got big enough to eat, they would just kill the baby and eat him, okay, whether it's a boy or a girl. But that goes way back in history. This is not anything new. And so we do have zero test and zero fem. And again, I would get a hold of the flip chart. I would go to page 27, 26. Yeah, start out on page 26. Okay. And it goes into all kinds of things that are going on related to gender. Okay. And same thing on page 27. Okay. These things are easily dealt with, and they're not genetic in any way, shape, or form. I'll repeat that. They're not genetic in any way, shape, or form. They are, in fact, a nutritional deficiency early in pregnancy, and the baby, as time goes on, the gap between reality and what they're seeing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. okay? And you can't kill the baby and eat them, okay, like you can a calf or a pig or a sheep or something like that. And so it's one of those things where people have to sit down and get a hold of this information. And again, the flip chart, but also get a hold of the book, Rare Earth Forbidden Cures. It has all the stories of all the information on the rare earths, which when they're missing during pregnancy, you get a lot of these problems. All right. And so this is not magic or this is not some evil spirits or anything like that. It's just something that happened, and it can be prevented if you know that it's happened once or so in your community. Make sure that everybody's getting all their vitamins and minerals before pregnancy, all through the pregnancy, and nothing bad will happen. Okay? But if you wind up with somebody, oh my gosh, my little girl here thinks she's a boy. Okay? Well, that's easily managed and dealt with. Okay? And so this is where if she's got the equipment of a little girl, okay, then you need to be sure to give that little girl baby the Xerafem, okay? And don't forget the kid's toddy for all the nutrition. And what they say, these minerals, okay, these minerals, the rare earth minerals, they go way back. We're talking thousands of years ago. And people knew back then that people live longer in certain places. In the old Bible, people lived to be 200 years old, 300 years old, 500 years old, because they were living in a land that's flowing with milk and honey, because it had all those minerals in the soil. And the ones in certain areas, okay, the rare earths, and of course, they have fights over them, who's going to, have access to these rare earths and so on. And this is not a difficult thing. It's been going on for a long time. Again, it's not witchcraft. It's very simple to manage. And, when you have a human child and animals, you have a choice. You can manage them like you would a human child, okay, by dealing with supplements, or if you don't want to deal with that, you can just cook them and eat them. Okay, so that's those are kind of the things that goes on, and it's amazing how much information really inflicts the people. Now, I think I've read this to the group before, but this little bit of information here is very useful. Okay, this is sort of in the beginning of the book, Rare Earth Forbidden Cures. There are secrets of health and longevity. Okay, the definitive home reference on minerals, mineral deficiencies, and their relationship, degenerative diseases. Okay, we're talking about arthritis, osteoporosis, heart disease, liver disease, and so on. Learning disabilities, well, that's straightforward. Criminal behavior, that's straightforward. Hyperactivity, that's straightforward. Birth defects, they think they're genetic, but they're not. They're just nutritional deficiencies early in pregnancy. Addictions, where they are addicted to things like alcohol and certain foods and so forth. Food binges, you eat 10 meals a day. Depression, because the brain didn't get what it needed to work properly. And this is very easy to deal with. We have the I-26, okay, in addition to the 90 essential nutrients. And then there's infertility and more. It goes on and on and on and on. And all this is in this book, Rare Earth Forbidden Cures. And we just, this book is available. Again, you buy one of them, you pay the retail price. If you buy 10 of them, you get a nice big discount. And you can give them as gifts to your church mates, your pastors in the church. You can give them to your families. You can sell them. You get somebody who's a new associate in with Youngevity. You can give them one of those books if they're having trouble with their family's idea what's going on with the individuals. Okay? In just 15 minutes of reading, okay, of these books, Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. These books are, what? How many pages? It's like crazy. Let's have a look here. You're looking over 500 pages in this book, Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. It covers an enormous amount of territory. Every family should have at least 3 or 4 or 5 of them. So mom has one, dad has one, the kids have 1 or 2 to share, and then of course you have 1 or 2 to loan out to somebody if you're signing them up in the longevity business. And again, this is not difficult. This is very straightforward. It's been around a long time, so it's not something that's just made up now. People have dealt with this in many, many ways over the years, and cannibalistic behavior is part of it. Okay, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wallach. So I just want to elaborate a little bit here. You spoke about some things, which is like learning disorder or hyperactivity. So dyslexia is a complex syndrome. It's here on page 117 in this book, Let's Play Doctor, which I love this book because I feel like I can, pretty much diagnose somebody just by this book, and it really gives you so much information. So this is one of my favorites. And so on this page 117, it says dyslexia is a complex syndrome rather than a specific disease. To be sure, there are some dyslexic children who have true organic or biochemical brain injury who will require intense special education and training programs. However, it is a sad testimony to American Orthodox medicine that as many as 80% of these dyslexic kids are really suffering from food allergies and or sugar sensitivity, where sugar acts as a drug and produces a pharmacological effect just like speed. These food sensitivities create learning disabilities that mimic organic disease, and too many salvageable kids are put on drugs, an example, Ritalin, shunted off into special education programs, or worse yet, given up on as lost by frightened, frustrated families. Food sensitivities and allergies should be seriously investigated and dealt with.
Yeah, thank you. Because that book, again, you hit the nail on the head, okay? Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. You got the flip chart. The flip chart goes into all these things, okay? And we're talking in the flip chart, we're talking about page, it's 26 or 27, something like that. Yeah, 26.
Yep.
Okay. Page 26 of the flip chart. Okay, 90 for Life Crusade to save humanity in the world. All these crazy things that go on. And, of course, we're also talking about autism. We're talking about ADHD, attention deficit disorder, all those kinds of things. They're not genetic. They're just simple nutritional deficiencies. And then you have Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Huntington's chorea, frontotemporal dementia, Bell's palsy, Charcot-Marie-Tooth, cervical spondylosis, carpal tunnel syndrome. These are all simple birth defects that are reversible with proper nutrition and supplementation. Neuropathies, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathies, anti-MAG peripheral neuropathies, hereditary neuropathies, pressure palsy, myelopathies, optic neuropathies, progressive inflammatory neuropathies. And that's not all of them. That's just about half of the ones that are around.
Right.
And
here in America, we've been, practiced on by all these different, chemicals they put on the fields and the water running off, and we have to, plant our garden somewhere. and we end up with this, all these foods that are supposed to be nutritionally healthy for us when we can't even get healthy food if our soil is damaged and contaminated. And, associated on page 8 or 28, it says common misdiagnosed maladies associated with osteoporosis of the skull, like AFib, hiccups, tinnitus, optic nerve atrophy, Parkinson's, all these different COPD, all because of nutritional deficiencies and misdiagnosis.
That's correct. You get an A+. You hit the nail on the head there. That's one of my favorites. And of course, we have a book, okay? It's only 30 pages, okay? It's called It's All in Your Head. And page number 6, it blows people's mind. It shows osteoporosis of the skull, where the skull is 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick compared to the normal skull. Then you flip the page, and it shows you the bottom of the human brain, shows you 12 pairs of cranial nerves. And at the end of each cranial nerve, it shows you what tissue, what organs are afflicted when the skull is squeezing that nerve. And so you have stuff going on in your legs, your back, your feet, which is happening up in your brain, like the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve. And of course, we have 12 chapters in this book that covers these 12 cranial nerves. And we have a chapter that covers the spinal cord. This little book, I just had today, one guy buy 300 of them, okay, of this book. It's All in Your Head.
It's a great book. It's a really good book.
It's a great book. Yeah, it's a really good book because it helps so many people because the medical system makes their living by treating symptoms. And the patient is very grateful. Oh, I suffered for years, and the doctor gave me this new drug, and in 3 hours' time, all my symptoms are gone. I just love my doctor. And then, of course, 2 years later, they die because they didn't really get to the basic program.
Dr. Wallach, and I know there's people that want to ask questions, but you really hit something right there because we have a nursery, a guy who runs a nursery, and he had a surgery on his knee. And I'll tell you, they gave him a pill, and he is so happy they got this pill for him because that saved his life. That pill saved his life, he said. And he's walking with a cane, and he's in a lot of pain. And I said, have you ever heard of colloidal silver? Oh, yeah, I've heard of it, but I'm not going to turn blue. I'm not going to. And I just could not believe that he's all set with this one pill saved his life, but he will not look at the research as far as colloidal silver. Can you explain what the benefits of colloidal silver are?
Okay, well, colloidal silver is an antioxidant. It reduces swelling and inflammation. It kills all viruses, bacteria, fungus, and yeast. It goes back over 400 years ago, and it was the first thing that actually stopped where whole villages would die. Excuse me. Whole villages would die in a couple of days from virus infections. And it was a sheep herder. He found out if everybody in that village were to take a couple of drops of colloidal silver under their tongue every day, 3 or 4 times, the whole village would live. If people didn't take the colloidal silver, the whole village died within a couple of days. This goes back 400 years. And so this is why we have colloidal silver in the YOUNGEVITY program. I take a dropper full under my tongue on the right side. I take a dropper full under my tongue on the left side. Let's see here, 10 minutes before each meal and 10 minutes before bedtime. And this is the first drug that eliminated all these terrible diseases with colloidal silver. Okay? It does not cause any problems, but it does kill all viruses, bacteria, fungus, and yeast. Penicillin only kills 2 bacteria. Penicillin only kills 2 bacteria. Oh, I just love my penicillin.
It's amazing. It is truly amazing how much we have been lied to and we just believe the lies because we keep hearing it over and over again. So I appreciate the time here. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question? And you can unmute yourself while I read off the phone number here to get the books. And that would be 1-800-755-4656, 1-800-755-4656 if you'd like to get the books, or you can go online and go to www.drjwallach.com for Dr. Wallach's books. So is there anybody that'd like to ask a question? Can you unmute? Okay, well, I'd just like to, again, if you could elaborate a little bit more on diabetes.
Okay, well, diabetes is a very easy one. And there's another disease complex, called metabolic syndrome. It has diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity. Okay? Now, type 2 diabetes is not a genetic disease. I don't care if everybody in your family's got it. Type 2 diabetes is actually just a simple nutritional deficiency, and we have a program called Sweeties. You take your 90 essential nutrients, or 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 acids, 3 fatty acids, and then you get the Sweeties and take 3 of those Sweeties twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. Let's say you weigh 110, 115, 120 pounds. You want to add 3 of those Sweeties at breakfast and 3 at dinner time. And I don't care if you've had type 2 diabetes for, say, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but you'll see benefit within a couple of days. And then within a couple of weeks, you'll see miracles, and another couple of weeks is gone. So I always say, give us 90 days. Type 2 diabetes is one of the easiest diseases to get rid of because it's a very simple nutritional deficiency disease. It's not genetic in any way, shape, or form.
So type 2 is something you get later in life, but type 1 is something that a child was born with. Is that correct?
Well, you can have type 2. They can be born with type 2. They can be born with type 1. Okay? But type 1 doesn't respond to these sorts of things because the mom had a problem with deficiency, say 6 months before pregnancy, and the pregnancy came when that area of the brain was forming, and it didn't get built right because it didn't have all the raw materials, and that's type 1. Okay, something's missing because they weren't getting the materials during early pregnancy. Okay. Type 2, you're missing nutrients, and you can take the nutrients at birth and get rid of your type 2 diabetes in a couple of days.
Okay, but you cannot later in life get type 1 because that's something that was in birth before you were born. That's what you said, right? Type 1 is only when you're missing something prior to birth.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification because there's been a lot of misunderstanding about people being diagnosed with type 1 in their 30s. So I appreciate that.
That's because the doctor has a couple of kids in college and he needs the money, and he's telling this patient, you're going to be on this medication forever because he needs the money to pay all, everything that's going on with the college.
Thank you for saying that, Dr. Wallach. And you can say that because you are a doctor. I could not say that, legally. And you know the field more than, a lot of us out here. So is there any parting words that you would like to share with us today?
Yeah, I want to welcome everybody to the YOUNGEVITY family. Become a member. You pay the wholesale prices instead of retail prices. And the beauty of this is, if something happens to you, it's willed to your family. If you want to later on, let's say you run your YOUNGEVITY business for months or years, and you decide you want to sell it, you can sell your YOUNGEVITY business to your family, to your neighbors, your church mates, and the business you built, you may have sponsored 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. They still have their home in that family, of the YOUNGEVITY business. And so this is really a great little business. And It's one of the things where we have, because of this information, I'm the guy that got rid of cystic fibrosis. I'm the guy that got rid of cystic fibrosis in China, which was another name in China is Parkinson's disease. Okay. But then also, I've been able to get rid of arthritis, osteoporosis, heart disease, cancer, all these brain diseases, which we have I-26 for. There's about 50 of these diseases. You get this flip chart, and there's at least a dozen famous people. We're talking about movie actors, athletes, very famous athletes, billionaires who had these terminal diseases, and the doctors gave up on them. And they came to us. We put them on the nutritional programs, and within days they showed improvement. Within weeks, they didn't have the disease anymore. And the doctor died, but the patient is still alive 20 years later. Okay? And so these are just wonderful stories in this flip chart. The flip chart is only 70 pages, but it covers an enormous amount of territory. And I like to ship the flip chart because you can show it to 2 or 3 people in your kitchen table. You can show it to, say, 15, 20 kids in an office, okay, at school, or you can show it to 1,000 people in one of these big auditoriums because they have all the equipment to show it. And it gets the information out there. This is unimpeachable information. We get rid of Parkinson's disease. Well, my doctor says you can't. Well, give us a try. Your doctor says you can't. How long has he been treating your Parkinson's disease? Oh my gosh, 10 years? Okay. Well, just give me 6 months. Well, usually within 2 weeks to see improvement. Within 4 weeks, you don't have it anymore. How long do you have to stay on the supplement program? Well, forever. If you stop taking the supplements, within 6 months' time, if you're eating all the bad foods still, the Parkinson's disease can come back and say, well, see, it didn't work. I still have my Parkinson's disease. That's because you stopped taking the supplements.
Good point. And you eat the bad foods.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what happens with a lot of, people, that they're starting to feel better. And, I don't think I need this anymore. Well, actually, yes, you do need it because you're not shaking anymore. You're not stuttering anymore. You're not going through all those things that, you had while you were taking a drug. You were still shaking and you were still, I'm saying about people, that have these drugs that they're on. And they say, well, I'm taking medication. I'm good. Well, you, me, and a lot of other people have witnessed. We see a whole different type of, the whole face, the whole structure of the people's body. They're standing up taller and they're talking better just because of the nutrition. And I'll tell you, when you're around people, like today I was out in the greenhouse, and it's kind of, there's some mold out there and different things knocking up some dust, and I'm not as sharp as I normally would be. But so that's what happens if we're around something that's going to bother our respiratory system, or something like that with the molds or whatever in the air. Mm-hmm. Or even a handle. When we went to the bed and breakfast, and that handle had some brass cleaner on it, and right away I could feel in my body that brass cleaner was not healthy for me. So little things that we can notice that are maybe causing people to have an ailment or a disease, right? We can identify it with pulse test and different things like that, get the nutrition, and come back again next week and share with us your results. And thank you, Dr. Wallach, for joining us again. We appreciate it, and have a good night, everybody. Come back again next week. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you and your team for the wonderful telling all your great successes, and that's going to help people say, well, I better give this a try. Okay, God bless.
Thank you for what you do. Good night, everybody.